Welcome back. Night 2, and the theme for the night is bad, boring energy. JK, it's really about big, bad energy. And here's mine. Join me as I dive deep into this video with 2 group dates and the first one-on-one. Welcome to Reality TV Therapy with me, Dr. Diane. Let's start with the first group date. You can't tell me that Zach Shellcross wanted this big B energy. Does he even know who Lotto is? But I loved it, honestly. I think her energy was great. Her song is fun. And having the iconic women, Victoria, Tajwan, and Courtney come in, they were perfect picks for this moment. Now, as you can guess, I was looking deep to see, did Victoria F. have a ring on while she was filming? Because we also know that she was with Johnny during this time and they hadn't split it up yet. But there was no ring to be found on that finger, as I had to dive into that. But not only did I like the vibe, I liked kind of the production because there was good energy. And I like when the dates, there's no fighting, there's no football, there's no pillow dates. All of this to me is just good, healthy competition. And I really do want to see which of the women will come out of themselves because I can only imagine how frightening it is. But when it comes to the women, I did want to highlight a few that I really enjoyed. Kylie, her entrance was right on point. Right? She had a nice mix of the angel / meets devil, the little dance. Well done, Kylie. And next, I liked Brianna's Make It Rain. The rain machine. I don't think she should have gone with the pink hat because that kind of toned it down a little bit, but I liked her commitment. And the other people who stood out for me, the other women, Catherine. Her entrance was fierce. And Mercedes with that hot whip. These were the women that I really thought came out of their shell. Bailey, the pink is more for women than it is for men. So to me, it didn't have that big B energy. And I think it was not Genevieve who had the twirling that got kind of caught around his neck. To me, that wasn't as on point. And then Kat, she came out as the little kitty cat, but what's getting old here, and I want to pause for a moment. I don't know if any of you have read the book, How to Win the Bachelor, but there's something that they call face play. And they encourage people, if they want to win the show, to do this. That means make the faces or the memes. And I guess that might work if you want to get on Bachelor in Paradise or if you call that winning. But as a relationship expert and as a couples therapist, I can't imagine that this is something that we really want to encourage people to do, to make like funny faces, because I feel like Kat has gone just a little bit too far with this. We've already seen too many funny faces, and I just don't think that Zach is buying that, and you'll see later. But the second part of that group date was sort of the empowerment part about using your voice. And I liked that too, the stories about empowerment, about Brianna owning her own business, about saying, I'm going to wear my hair curly if it's natural. And so those were things I liked. Now, here's what I like the most is when we have moments of intimacy. Because for me, I'm looking at the couple and who's jiving. And Catherine really stood out. And of course, she also got the group date rose. But why? Let's dig deep into that. Because she talks about things that are important to Zach, about how close she is with her own family and how she's looking for her forever person. This has got to be music to Zach's ears. And he's already said that she was his type and he was attracted to her in the first date. So we know that this is a really nice connection. Who is Catherine? Catherine's the 26-year-old registered nurse from Florida. But I'm guessing that Catherine goes far because not only did she get the group date, but I just think there's a lot of nice things in common. So now let's talk about Tajwan. We know her from previous seasons, from Bachelor in Paradise, the woman who it was always just too hot, and she talked a lot about her bodily functions. I thought she looked phenomenal. She was dressed to the nines. She was gorgeous. I liked her Taj's energy, and to the point about going for what you want. That was Catherine, who said, we're friends, but I'm more than friends. Liked that. But what Taj did that was just a little bit too much is she really didn't read the room. First, I find it hard to believe that Zach is her guy. I just don't know what we've seen of her. I don't think he's her type. But there was something about it that just didn't feel genuine. So I thought, was Taj coached to do this? Did they even bring her in as a test to Zach to see how he would handle it? And I'll get to that because I think he handled it well. But Taj, the problem was when she came back with the women and said, go for what you want. And there was that really awkward conversation where the women are like, I don't really like how this is feeling. And she's like, well, it is a competition. What's wrong with that? And it just didn't land well with me. So to me, it felt like I'm all for go for what you want, but watch your audience and see where that lands. Because I think Taj could have done it 100 different ways. Taj could have said something like, ladies, I can't help it. I don't find myself attracted to many people, and I didn't come here to steal your man, but now all of a sudden I'm finding like, wow, I kind of miss this and I want a relationship and I want to explore it. Are you okay with that? If she came in with that kind of approach instead of, this is a competition, get over it, I'm not doing anything wrong, I just felt like the women would have given her an ear. So that was the part for me. Now, in the end, it's a moot point. And even when, she's crying and they're doing the in the moment segment, they're saying, well, even, bad, I don't like the B word, they can cry. And I'm like, that felt a little bit forced to me. But I just don't think this was her guy. And I am happy that actually Zach turned that down versus it was Clayton and some of the other men who are flattered, right? Oh my gosh. And I think they might have felt even more pressure from production that I have to say yes. So I'm going to give Zach a big yes. Yes, Zach, good job. You didn't let your ego get the best of you. And this is why I don't think he's that boring. I do like that he's taking control. And I said last week that I was like, I'm not so sure about this, Zach. But this I did like because it's confidence, right? He's saying, I know my person's here. I don't want to make this more complicated, because he does know that when you bring a person in from the outside who's not part of the original group, there is bound to be tension. And he said it himself. We're going to get to that. He just doesn't like drama. So good for Zach. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about the one-on-one. This is Christina Mandrell, one of the only people who they keep adding her last name. Why? Because the Mandrell name is famous. If you don't know, her aunt is Barbara Mandrell. Her mother is Irene, I think, who's also sister of the Mandrell sisters, the country music fan. So I did a post about this because Zach has a famous uncle, Patrick Warburton, Kronk, and Christina's part of a famous family. So you're kind of used to TV. And I think she's a real natural on TV. She was also in the Taylor Swift video. She made a tiny little cameo. So Christina knows what she's doing. And I thought she was perfect for this first date, because the one-on-one date, whether it equals love in the end or not, oftentimes this is the Bachelorette. So I'd wondered if Christina wasn't getting a Bachelorette edit. The helicopter ride, how fun was that? It would have been even more fun and dramatic if Rachel was the pilot. Wouldn't that be funny? Funny, dramatic, sad. I'm glad she wasn't, but I thought, I saw a meme about that. I thought that was funny. Now, their first date, it wasn't really the first date because Christina was one of the 5 women that was on after the final rose. And as I said, she's no stranger to fame. Now, on the date itself, I thought, oh my gosh, going into meeting the parents, this is too much. We've seen this before. We saw this with Maddie. We saw this with Crystal, and Ari. And that also doesn't end well either because it's just too soon. But given that she was very confident, she was talking to his cousins, I thought she did a really nice job. The question then is in the evening date. Of course, Christina says, I have something to tell you. I want to tell you about my 5-year-old daughter. We didn't hear more about the story. Turns out she was married to her high school sweetheart. She's only 26, so she had a child at 21. And it sounds like she was the one who filed for divorce. And there was something alluding to the fact of her ex perhaps went out on her. So I am all for second chances. Absolutely. But the look on Zach's face, because I'm watching for body language, was, I'm uncomfortable with this. I don't know if I'm ready for this. He is only 26, and yes, he wants children, so he says, but that is a lot. And I do appreciate that we slowed it all down, that he said, I'm just not so sure about this, that she said, I get it. And that to me felt like a very mature conversation. So I'm all over this. I loved this. This to me was a highlight about not feeling any kind of way about your past. This is, it reminds me of Emily Maynard when she had her daughter Ricky, and she said, if you're not interested in that, then there's the door. And I liked Christina had that same kind of energy, but she was also respectful of Zach needing time to kind of digest. And I thought that was a nice pause, like I need time to think about this. But he did give her the one-on-one rose because he's intrigued by her, and I really like her energy. She, of all of the women, I think just exudes confidence. Now we're going to see more drama, I'm sure, but I liked that she didn't go back and tell all the women, oh my gosh, I met the family. And that look in the rose ceremony when all the women almost spit their champagne out when Zach was the one who said, for meeting my family, I thought that was good on Christina. Okay, let's go to the second group date because we didn't really get to see it, right? What happened, and as I understand, is they had a puppet date with Zach's famous uncle, Patrick Warburton, and they had to cut it because instead they wanted to show us the group, the cocktail party and the rose ceremony. And I'm all for routine. This is why the show works, our beloved show, because there should be predictability. There should be a culmination, a rose, and I don't like when that keeps lingering. So I'm okay with not seeing that. Now, we did get to see some intimate moments, and here we do get to see Jess in particular, and she gets the group date rose. We don't know what happened in the puppet show, but she asked him a really good question. Tell me something that nobody else knows about you. And here I'm going to pause because Zach shares about this pyloric stenosis. I had to look this up. I didn't know much about it. It's a condition that infants have where sort of the top of their stomach doesn't close. So they're regurgitating, they're vomiting a lot, they can't take in food, they seem to be hungry all the time. But it's easily fixed with surgery because I've had a number of nurses DM me and say this is easily fixed. So what do I think about Zach? Well, having said that, he says, I almost didn't make it. Now, you're an infant. And he called it a disease. It's not a disease, it's a condition. But is this his mother's energy about it? So if the story in one's life is you almost didn't make it as a baby, then I understand that. Now, whether that's true or not, that's debatable. But if the mother had lots of energy about it, I'm going to call it big mama energy, then of course that makes sense that it could be a bigger deal than that. So technically, whether it's a life-threatening condition or not, or it was easily solved with surgery, his mother could have had a big moment about it. And who could blame a mother when your child goes in surgery? That's got to be frightening. Okay, now let's also talk about a second woman, and that was Gabby. Gabby, at this point, she's in the yellow dress, is talking a lot about not having gotten a chance with Zach on night one. And she's cut off a couple of people, and her anxiety feels pretty palpable. That she has big anxious energy, and I'm talking about energy because that's the theme for today. That she didn't get to talk with him, and she's behind, and how this bothers her. Now, I do also think that she's going to go far, because if we just watch Zach and what he's saying in his eye contact, he did say in particular that he had butterflies with Gabby. Now, that's a big thing, because he said to Catherine he was very attracted to her, but he said butterflies, and so I'm going to go with that. That I think Gabby is going to make it far because of Zach's reaction. But I don't know, is Gabby doing this to talk about this for more screen time, or if she really is that anxious? Because at this point, remember, they can edit this a lot of different ways. We have very little information. We'll find out more. Let's get to the rose ceremony. Okay, rose ceremony. We're back on track, as I said, I love. Now, here's where the drama creeps in when we're at the cocktail party, right? Because now, what didn't make sense to me is, does Zach, just look at timing. I'd love for Bachelor Dated weigh in. Timing. Zach raises his toast about meeting my family. Was that early on and then they broke away? Because I didn't quite know, again, of that timing. But needless to say, Brianna's now having a moment. And the moment is now she's really looking at Christina and feeling some envy. Also, Brianna is in a difficult position. I just want to say that because she's been getting some flack after this episode. And she's in a difficult position because of something called imposter syndrome, which I get. She got America's rose. And that could make her feel like, have I gotten real validation? I got validation from the people, but not from Zach. So I get that she's feeling already insecure. I get it. Now, also, Christina wasn't perfect here. And when I went back and watched the tape about what she first said, and she said, oh, that dress looks beautiful. I hate you, JK, just kidding. She also said more than that. Like, this was rigged. You got that dress. And in fact, she probably did. I read that maybe she got that dress as a special dress, a rose dress, because they haven't done that before. But here's what I did like, is how it was handled. So Brianna brings it up. Hey, that made me uncomfortable. I didn't feel safe. Code word for something you did hurt me. And Christina said, I apologize. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. I own that. I'm sorry. And I thought that looked like a really nice repair. Now we're going to find out later. Maybe that wasn't as nice and it didn't settle for Brianna. But now here's what we find out. Then Brianna goes to Zach and says, Zach, I didn't feel safe with someone in the house. I really love this moment. If you've already handled it, I want to hear, but if you've already handled the drama, I'm not into drama. Do we need to talk about it? And then Zach follows up with, I think you, Brianna, are pretty shut down. And that is true. Right? Go back, watch the tape. Brianna was pretty negative, talking about, oh my gosh, I felt so unsafe and so uncomfortable. And that felt like a negative tone to be bringing in so early. Remember, also when everybody else is talking about, I'm so grateful to be here, it's going to stand out as something negative. So who in the end goes home? Now we get to the rose ceremony. Kat goes home. Again, if I'm going back to the book, How to Win the Bachelor, not great advice, to over too much face play. And a few other women who we just didn't see the connection with go home. So we're weeding down pretty quickly, right? And as we see from the previews, there's certainly going to be more drama. I think Christina, now she has a target on her back for sure. We'll see how that plays out. Because again, I don't think Zach's that into that situation, but we shall see. Okay, I like to close all of my videos with what I call my reality check. And this time I have 3 lessons on love. These are from Lotto, How to Be a Baddie, but I want to give my own twist. Okay, number 1, be confident, because you can't have too much confidence. But you have to also be able to modulate that with reading the room. To not be too pushy, to be confident, but to also know timing, because timing is really key. Number 2, use your voice. I really loved this part of the lesson about, Lotto said it's also like being a baddie is not just what's on the outside, it's kind of what's in the inside, and your voice is how you embody that. Have stories to tell people about your awesomeness. Highlight your personality, but use your voice. That's a powerful message. And 3, lesson, get what you want. But get what you want in terms of go for the kiss. Don't get what you want at all costs being aggressive. So go in for what you want, because a lot of people in dating, they sit on the sidelines and they kind of wait, and it's very sexy to go all in and go for it. All right. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for episode 3 and leave your comments, because I read them. They matter so much to me. And please subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to go in all things Bachelor and lessons that you can learn in love.